Hi, friends. Um, okay. I guess that's a good picture to start. Well, it's a terrible picture, but it's what we're talking about today. Yes, it's 6:30 and I'm drinking coffee. I'm also live here on Facebook. Um, if you want to bring it back over to YouTube, that would be sick. Um, basically, um, for the past couple months, I've been putting together um, more automated systems for the different electrical systems in my bus. Mainly like lighting. I want to be a little bit more on top of getting my lights turned off. I have, energy issues, so like getting up and down all the time isn't always great. Um, sometimes just like lighting is kind of important when you're living in a vehicle um, on a city street. So like being able to monitor um, my lighting, and then also things like I'm really like super nerding out on like data collection. So um, y'all may have seen a post from me like months ago when I started playing around with um, Home Assistant and then some other software to log my data from my solar panels, and like what I'm bringing in, and what I'm using, and that's kind of what all of this um, stuff is doing. You can't really see it in this picture. I didn't realize I got such a shit picture to work with here. I wonder if I can reload this and it'll be better quality. Nope, nope, it's just a bad picture. Right here is a Raspberry Pi 4, which I've been running Home Assistant on. I was running a few other things. Um, uh, there will be some add-ons for Home Assistant that will install, but I was running it off of an external USB flash drive, and Home Assistant doesn't really like that. I want to try running the 64-bit version of it, and so I can get things like VS Code, um, and then the rest of the stuff. But that kind of like negates like running a lot of other things, which is fine. I kind of want the this Pi 4 to just like manage Home Assistant, because it's kind of like the hub for um, my entire bus. It's just kind of the brains behind all the data in and out of what's going on with the different systems in my bus. And I can feed it data from like anything too. So like eventually, if I get like a water tank and I want to put like a level sensor on that can be in Home Assistant, and then I can display that how I want on various different devices. So maybe you saw like my Instagram post from a couple months ago, where I showed the graphs from my solar system. I can do that with like the the um, the water levels or whatnot, and mostly just kind of building a hub for um, the various systems, as I've said already. So yeah, so we got the Raspberry Pi 4. Some other things are going to run on this Raspberry Pi 3 that's right here. Down in the corner, very sad, is the Raspberry Pi that I'm working on to redo a lot of the stuff that I initially was able to do on the Pi 4, but a little bit better. I had some driver issues with the USB to RS485 connection, so I'm running that now through the serial port on this Raspberry Pi Zero, and then it will have data collection on itself, so it doesn't have to rely on uh, immediately sending that data to let's say the Raspberry Pi 4 or the Raspberry Pi 3 over the network in case the network is down. Even though like everything is going to be wired with Ethernet and whatnot. And this is where this is. This is kind of like the upper left bulkhead above my driver's seat. And eventually this will get a nice little cover over it. But today is for installing Home Assistant. And if you're on Facebook, you should go over to my YouTube channel and follow along because I've already gone to, so basically the steps are pretty simple. Home Assistant home-assistant.io, get started, installation, Raspberry Pi, and then you just need a micro SD card and then you download the Lena Etcher, and then you get the specific distro that you want. It's all wrapped into one, and it's just like the operating system layer with Home Assistant on top of it, and it's an image, and then you just burn that image to an SD card, put it in your Pi, make sure that your Pi is available on your network, and I've already done this stuff and set static IP address for the Pi 4 in my router, and you can see, of course, my freaking router doesn't want to load anything right now. That's been swirling for like 30 minutes, so let's get started. I am going to, once you got all that, you're brought to a main page like this. Once you put the SD card in, you make sure you're on your network. You may have to do some configuration to get your Wi-Fi working if you want it to run off of Wi-Fi. But I run everything off of Ethernet. I just plug an Ethernet jack in. It's on my network. I can get its IP address and go to that IP address :8123. A lot of places will tell you to use like homeassistant.local or like /homeassistant 81:8123. But I've never had very good results with MDNS on any of the networks that I've been on, so like, you know, it is what it is. Again, if you're on Facebook, go over to YouTube. My username is Clomads over there. We're getting started with installing Home Assistant on, or reinstalling my Home Assistant on, I gotta use my Clomads. And nobody can see me typing passwords, so we're good to go. Okay. Yeah, sure, create account. And I'm gonna start like completely fresh here. Home is Oakland, yeah, sure. I'm more like in this area. MacArthur Freeway. That I can change that later. That is fine. Name of your Home Assistant installation. Oh, Gary Bussey for sure. I want to do metric so bad, but I can't because I don't understand metric that well. Eventually, sooner or later, one of these days. We just hit next. It's gonna detect some stuff on my network. Yeah, we'll set up the Google Cast. It is called Desk TV. And on my desk, add new area. desk. And then we can hit this more thing. This is just the list, the normal list of integrations that you can use for Home Assistant. And we'll go over this in a little bit, but I just wanted to get it going and then kind of bring over some of the other stuff that I've done in my other install, my previous install. There is a way to import from your previous install, but my previous install was just like hella broken, and I don't know if I necessarily like feel great about transferring all that brokenness over, and I kind of just want to start fresh and take it from there. We got a notification. 10.0.0.41. What is 41? Huh. Oh, that must be Desk TV. Okay, we'll figure that out later. See if that comes back. And that's it. This is literally in like I'm 20 minutes into my stream because like I spent 10 minutes. Let's say I'm like 10 minutes into my stream. I could have done this in 5 if I didn't fucking ramble my ass off the entire time. But we have here Home Assistant, and you can see like where your home is on a map, a logbook of all of the activities that happened, a history status. This is a little bit more of like a time variable, so these will actually like start changing colors in like bands across the way. And once we have more what we call entities in Home Assistant, we can do that. But for now, we want to go to, where do we want to go? We want to go to Supervisor, and then go to the add-on store, and then here are a bunch of add-ons that we can add to Home Assistant, so that we can start making things a little bit more interesting. And to start, I'd like to start with Mosquito Broker, which is an MQTT server. And MQTT is really interesting. It's kind of like, it's IRC for IoT devices. So basically you have like channels. So you have like your root channel on the server, and then you have like folders essentially, but they only contain like little amounts of data. And those folders represent like devices and their parameters. So I'd have like, for my solar, I have like solar volts watts, or solar volts battery, solar volts solar amps battery, solar amps solar, that type of thing. And or any, like, you can also put JSON in there as well, documentation, but it's pretty much just basically text messaging for the devices in your house. And you have a main server that hosts that chat messaging service, and then you have like, I don't know, a sensor on the wall that sends something to MQTT, and then it just gets logged there as time goes on. So like the time is just constantly changing, and then each time, now it's 71 degrees, 71 degrees, 71 degrees, 71.2 degrees, 71.2 degrees, so on and so forth. And then I can pull that information in, and then also manipulate it if I want to. So I can do things based on if that whatever variable that so if it's over 75 degrees, I could do something, or if it's below 60 degrees, I could do something. So Um, if if my battery goes below a certain voltage, I can have it send me a message, or a push notification or whatnot. And there's another thing there's also an home assistant app for Android and iPhone, and then it'll allow you to give it the um, permissions to pull as much data from your phone as possible and then enter that data into your own server. And while that sounds super fucking scary, and it would be if all of that data was going to the cloud, all that telemetry is not going to the cloud. It's literally living in your home on your own network. So you have access and control to all of that. And that's one of the great things about setting up something like Home Assistant, is that you don't have to rely on these cloud services to manage your data and keep your data safe. You can do your own internal security audits and make sure that your data is fine. And especially, like, a lot of these devices rely on having internet, and I live in a bus. I don't always have internet. My connection up here to my router is either 4G or I'm connected to somebody else's Wi-Fi, and then I create my own Wi-Fi and Ethernet network in here via those things. And if I don't have either of those things, which in a couple months I won't have regular access to somebody else's high-speed Wi-Fi, I'm stuck with my 10 megabit internet on a good day and over 4G, and I can't, make my reliance to turn my lights on based on whether or not I have internet. And then that's just on top of the fact that I control all of my data. And MQTT is a big part of that transfer of data across my own network. And Mosquito is what they call the server for MQTT, or at least the integration that we're using here. I don't think this needs... config. Alright. That was easy. We don't have... There's no config, and we can just start MQTT right now. Whoa, 25.2. That's a lot. Or is that just your first boot up? Yeah, 0. Cool. Let's go back to the add-on store and see if there's anything else interesting in here, and I guarantee you there is. I really want to set up Bitwarden because LastPass is severely hindering their free option here in the next 2 days, and I don't know that I have the spoons to transfer all my passwords in that day. So I'm probably going to be ending up paying for LastPass, unfortunately. But I do want to install Bitwarden. Let's actually install Bitwarden as the last thing, because that's not there's other more like baseline stuff that makes more sense for using in a home server context like this. This I want to install VS Code. So there is some code to write. It's all just YAML configuration files. But VS Code is actually an HTML CSS application, and the app that you download is just like what they call an Electron app. Electron is just like a wrapper for the HTML CSS. So VS Code can run in a server. Let's check this documentation, see if we need anything. Info, let's just hit install. And this actually only works on the 64-bit version. The other versions have like a really simple 1 second. Hey, what's up? I'm live right now. No worries. Sorry about that. Have a friend staying behind me, and she's charging her laptop in my bus, because she doesn't have power yet in her van, which is my old van actually. We're working out something for her. And where was I? Oh yeah, so VS Code is available, at least, I don't know why, because you can actually get the VS Code Docker image for 32-bit operating systems, but for some reason it's not available on 32-bit installs of Home Assistant. But in previous versions you'd have like just what they called the file editor, and it was pretty basic, at least with like VS Code. Um, uh, we can have like a command line interface and do a lot of things from there. We can have linting of our code, so like we know what we're doing. It has a little bit better of a check system for making sure your config files are going to be fine when you have to reboot Home Assistant when you make any of those config changes. We do want this shown in sidebar, so see we have VS Code there. We can start it, and we want it start on boot. And let's see how we do here. VS Code, did you work? You're probably still booting, aren't you? Code server v3.1.9. I understand. That looks great. Let's see, Command Shift P, can we get dark mode? What do they call it? UI? No! Not what I want. Just let me... Fuck, dude. How do I switch to dark mode? Theme. Color theme? Oh, there we go. Dark plus. Yes! This is what I want. And we have... Okay, so now we have VS Code here and our config. So we have our configuration, our groups, YAML, Home Assistant, log. Oh yeah, this is still trying to like connect to my... I wonder if it's just because it's not on. Yay, there we go. Is that it though? What is 41 on my device? Why are you connecting to 41? No, 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 friend. Gosh, it's 7 o'clock? What the fuck did I do with my day? What is 41? Okay, Wi-Fi's on. Network is running. I'm live. That was a quick switchback. That's a interesting... It's only about 3 seconds to go up to YouTube and back down. Pretty freaking good. Dismiss. What is 41? Are you gonna let me on? Are you gonna let me, like, see stuff? Oh, Lord and Savior internet provider thing. Box. Dude, man, woman, NB. Clients. Clients. What is in the 40s? What is my 40s? 41. Asterisk. I just asked this question last night. What the fuck is 41? 83 is... 41... Oh, 41 is my Mac. Why are you trying to... Invalid authentication from 10... Oh, that's me. Is that just a weird bug? All right, well, we're gonna go with it and just deal with it. 41, if you ever hack into my network, is my Mac Mini over Ethernet. All right, back to supervisor, back to add-on store. Still only 2 people on live. Let's go! Sorry if I blew out your ears. So this is like super chill. I mean, like, I love like all this stuff that's in here. I'm never gonna use all of this stuff, but let's kind of go over like some of the stuff that's in here. I don't know half of this stuff, but like Aircast looks interesting. AirPlay capabilities for Chromecast devices. I only have my iPad as an Apple device, so it doesn't really matter. Although I'm thinking about buying an iPhone 10, a used iPhone 10, because they're down to like around $300 right now. So, you know, I really liked my iPhone 10. I super enjoyed it. I just like, I don't know, like, who knows? Maybe I'll use it again one of these days. Bitwarden is sick. Let's install Bitwarden. I've heard really good things about Bitwarden. And if I could keep open source platform password manager that can store sensitive website controls with encrypted vault. Bitwarden platform offers bright client, desktop, advice, and expand mobile apps. Bitwarden IS information on your self-hosted main password manager. Sort of stuff to the I'm interested to see if this is going to help me. I wonder, I'm interested to know if, like, I'll get a local, I'll have a local version, because eventually I will do a, I'm probably going to be doing a VPN into my bus, like an external into internal, so I can have, so I don't have to expose anything to the network or to the outside world. Plus, I'm like double natted right now, especially through the Wi-Fi. So even providing like a port forward, I just don't like the idea of doing port forwarding. But like, if I sync to my phone to the app, am I gonna have? Do I need an immediate connection back to this? Or will I have a cached version on my phone, which would be totally fine. Which might come into problem if I'm like, I have like my iPad and my phone with me, and then like the iPad does a thing, and then I go over to my phone and log in, and it's not there. But like, super. Who goes out anymore? All right, let's install Bitwarden. See how that goes. The ultimate things that I need to do today are not happening so far. I do want to find, while this is going on, I have a little USB stick for Zigbee to add. My phone is gonna die. To add Zigbee support to Home Assistant. I'd love to get that going if I can find that thing. While that's installing, we can attempt to find that thing. I don't know if it's in this one. If it is, oh, there she is, right there. First try. Look at that. This, get both cameras on it. This is a little dongle which will plug into the Pi 4 and will allow me to use a couple of Zigbee devices. And I want to use some Zigbee devices. I think, honestly, I think Zigbee is probably the way to go for low priority things. So like lights, switches. I love the idea of like having everything on like relays and dimmers. So like I can have these lights on a dimmer, which would be great. But it's not directly connected to like a switch per se. So all of the switches themselves are virtual within Home Assistant. But then like I can just pick up like a 4-gang like button switch from AliExpress for like 20-30 bucks, and then like slap that where I need it if I need it. On my bed, I'm just gonna have like a tablet there with the Home Assistant interface, and then and that's probably good enough. Like if I find myself needing a specific like an actual hardware switch, I can always just get one. And Zigbee's probably the way to do it. It's probably the most secure. It's the more rare to be hacked. At least from what I can tell, it's probably, I know it's hackable, but like not as hackable as 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So like, yeah, just trying to like brain around just security situations that I might run into. All right, Bitwarden RS, start. Can I not show you in the sidebar? Why not? Are you still loading? Documentation. Logs. Log. Oh, okay. I need to stop, config, turn off SSL for now, start, UI, 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 reload, reload. Fuck! Log. Refresh. Refresh. I turned it off. Config. I didn't tell. I turned you. Oh, I have to save it. Stop. Config. SSL. Save. Info. Start. Log. Beautiful. Info. Open web UI. Dick. Yes, I am that child. Where's my dang vape? Do the thing! Fuck! Logs. Log. Admin token password. Alright, I'm gonna do this later because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of security issues with that, but whatever. I was hoping to just like see it, but that's not the case all the time with Home Assistant or any of this stuff. So yeah, we gotta get SSL in at some point, which maybe I'd like to, but that always makes my brain hurt. We can do it with Let's Encrypt, but that needs an external IP address. Such a pain in the ass. Anyways, Samba Share is definitely something to install. NTP server is pretty cool. ESP Home is really cool. I think I'm going to use it for a couple devices. Um, it's how do I describe it? It's firmware for ESP32, ESP82.6 boards um, for to make whatever. It's basically a bunch of like modular systems to like if you go to the website, it's super cool. I can show you ESP Home, and these are kind of just ways to start branching out your system. Like Home Assistant looks really bland right now because we don't have anything like in it yet. But we'll get to that in a second. We're gonna get my cameras in, and we're gonna get what else we're gonna get in there. I think that's just it for now. We're gonna get my cameras in there, and then, but like, if you want to start like branching out your system, you can do that with these ESP32 devices. If you're not worried about a whole bunch of devices on your Wi-Fi, then and you can do it with Ethernet too. ESP, you can get ESP32s with Ethernet on them now, and but basically you get this kind of like building block setup where you just essentially create a big config file saying like, here's what's on pin 27 and here's what's on pin whatever, or like here's the module to do the BPM 085 and it needs 2 pins, right? What pins are those? You give it the Broadcom pin numbers for, oh, are they Broadcom? They're not Broadcom on ESP32s, but the actual pin numbers, the chip pin numbers, not the board pin numbers for an ESP32 or ESP8266, and then it'll know how to read that device and then send that information over MQTT back to Home Assistant. Actually, I think ESP Home is using WebSockets now, and that's pretty cool. So like it's super like complex, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Bunch of like temperature sensors. Here's the Home Assistant integration. But the great thing about this is that like at least the integration with Home Assistant is that you get like a list of all of your devices and their configuration, and when you make a new one you just plug in the ESP32 if it has a USB port. If it doesn't, then you need your serial converter, your FTDI chip, to program it initially. But once it's on your network and giving you data from the sensors, or even just like a switch, like it could just be like a handful of switches. I know personally I'm planning on making like a little panel with like 8 switches on it, kind of like a race switch panel, but it's wireless. And then that information, like those switches, you switch the switch and those states get changed in Home Assistant. But if I ever want to change any of those, let's say like I want switch 8 to be, I want to pull switch 8 out and then like put a rotary encoder on there, I can just change the configuration to say like, oh, now I have a rotary encoder and it's on pins 2 and 3. Read the pulse information from a rotary encoder and send that to Home Assistant. Or maybe it does some pre-processing to say like, you're turning the dial from a specific number to a specific number. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I haven't specifically personally used it. But yeah, that's basically what it is. I think the other 2 popular things that people use is Grafana and InfluxDB. InfluxDB is a really good setup for, and I'm personally using InfluxDB for the the web the solar data collection system is taking that information and in time series data and putting it into an Influx DV. So it doesn't actually even need to be timestamped, although you can timestamp it. It will timestamp it itself every time a new piece of data comes in. So I can just set it to 1 second, and then like every second, InfluxDB is going to get a whole new data set, and then I can go in and start making charts and graphs. And in InfluxDB, it has chronograph, which is kind of their front end for doing like graphing and whatnot. But most people end up using Grafana because it's a very targeted piece of software specifically for taking time series data and putting it in graphs. So showing your data on a graph is way more easily handled, and making these like graph dashboards is way better with something like Grafana. Here's another MQTT server and web client. I'm not exactly sure what HiveMQ, what the difference between HiveMQ and like something like Mosquito is. It says it has a web client, so that'd be something interesting to look at. Obviously, you have like a Plex server in here, but I don't think we're gonna get very far with a Plex server on a Raspberry Pi. So MotionEye is also another great example of something that you can install on here and just like make this like your home dashboard. Is basically like, so I have like a cheap DVR for my cameras, and all my cameras are SD quality, running over composite wire from the back of my bus to the front of my bus. And I do that mainly because of latency. Wi-Fi cameras, you'll probably always notice if you ever bought a Wi-Fi security camera, you'll have latency. So you start waving at your camera or something, you got the app on your phone, it's gonna come in like seconds later, and that's not always the best setup. Hold on, I need to charge my phone. Or else I'm gonna lose Facebook here. Ah! That's all you get. That's what you get. Am I seeing the comments, or is that... Has anybody even commented yet? Interact with me! Where was I? Oh yeah, I need the cameras are twofold. So like, I have to have a dash. I have a display on my dashboard that has all 4 cameras. So I have left, right, front, and rear on my dashboard. That's an HDMI out from that DVR, and it's like 0 latency. I mean, it's a few milliseconds at most. Obviously, it's not like 0 latency, but it's enough that like I can use it as a driving assistant and not have to worry about like the delay in that. And that's the problem with MotionEye, is that MotionEye, I really want to start playing with MotionEye, but it's like I can't use it for that purpose. And like, I'm totally fine personally, because what we'll do in a second is we'll get my camera feeds off of that DVR and then display them. But I've noticed those are even like 3 seconds before it hits like my laptop or my tablet that I usually keep over there as my display, which is fine, because if I like hear something, look over and like see the camera, that's enough reaction time that I can be like, oh, that's the thing that just happened. And Motion Eye is going to be great for like probably other things, but I can't quite integrate that yet. Node-RED is great. It's kind of like think of it like um, you have like a bunch of inputs and outputs. It's a visual programming language is really what it is. And it's super fun to play with, but it kind of, if you're already into writing code, it can kind of mess you up a little bit and not really make a whole bunch of sense as to like what's going where and how what is being manipulated. And I used a Node-RED flow initially for my solar experiment, my data collection, and it was great for a while, but Node-RED has a tendency to use a lot of resources, so I try to keep its usage as a minimum, and I'll probably end up installing Node-RED on here, but using it as minimally as possible. Just kind of, like I said about data manipulation, is like you can start doing these flow-based things like if this then that. Another service that recently fucked themselves by upgrading to a subscription fee. And it's all in-house. Like you don't have to worry about it. I think the only other thing in here that I would really need to use. Oh, Jupyter Notebooks would be sick. Log viewer. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm actually going to get this. We're going to do this real quick. This was about a couple hours of work. Can go back into VS Code here and go to my configuration YAML. Command V that in there. And where was I with... You're still on 83. Fuck. Can I get you to... I set your... So, one thing about this router is it's not fast. I'll get you to reset your IP address. I set a static IP address on this thing yesterday, and it still hasn't renewed its lease and changed its IP address. My feet are freezing. My footsies are cold. Still at 83, huh, bud? Alright, well, let's just work with that right now, and then whenever you feel like doing better, I can switch it. So, like, back in VS Code here. Alright, I was on a 192. How do you actually select all of these together? I want to learn how to do that real quick. Select similar text. VS Code? Question mark? Oh wow, this is absurd. Command Shift L. What if it's not? Oh, hey, look at that! It worked. Ah! $83. Save. Give me command line. Nope. Where is my dang command line? How do I do this? No! So many things. So many splits. View. Open view. Console? Terminal. There we go. Dude. Also gonna learn some Home Assistant CLI here. Is anybody still on my stream? I still have somebody on my stream, unless that's me. I don't think that's me. Who's there? Who's on the YouTube? Who's my only viewer on YouTube right now? Oh my god, I've been streaming for an hour. I might have to shut this down at some point. Yeah. iPad's at 17% and is acting as a second monitor. Well, let's not do it that way. Let's go 6 Madison, advanced mode, configuration, server, check config, and then restart. This isn't actually like rebooting the whole system, it's just restarting the core components of Home Assistant. You'll see in the bottom left we have connection loss, reconnecting, and yeah, give it a minute and it's gonna do, yeah, there it is. Overview. Yeah, look at that. Cameras. Automatically in my UI. That's so good. Yeah, I have a different layout for these. Um, I think those are fine. Oh yeah, and those are like super. Let's see if we can edit. No, no, we want to do configuration, loveless dashboards, add dashboard. Gary, just call this one. Let's call this one main. Or just call it what's the sidebar? Because the sidebar is going to have a name, and then then it's going to have tabs across the top. So like, we can always fucking change this. Let's just call this main. Overview is kind of like an auto-generated UI dashboard, and I kind of want this to be do I have to select an icon? MDI / penis, DI / power, MDI dash, or what, HA sun, HA, god damn it. MD icons. Dude. Home. Are you happy? Should contain. Okay. Let's just call it main. Fuck you. Usually this pops up a little thing, the actual icon. Actually, I want a bus. Is there a bus in here? Bus. Look at that. Bus. HA. Bus. No. Why? Or is this just going to be MDI : bus? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thought it was hyphen. Just call you Bussy. Bussy. Alright, then we can go to Bussy. Bussy. Overview. Bussy. And I want to edit. This is, take control. Okay, this is Lovelace. It is their UI. So they originally had an older UI format for Home Assistant. I don't remember what it was called. It was just like a dashboard, what they called dashboards at the time. And then like a couple years ago, they started bringing out Lovelace, and it's quite excellent. Like I can just delete these cards. I don't want this. I don't want this. Yes. I don't need this. This is an interesting card. This is like this. Once I link my phone, this will start showing. This will start showing like whether I'm home or not. It'll start integrating with like the geofencing and whatnot. Um, what I need to do though is actually within the past like I think within like the past year or so, they added the ability to actually change. Remember when we set up our home area in the beginning? I can actually like change that based on something. So like I would need to find an item that stays in the bus and then but also has a GPS um, chip in it, antenna, receiver, and uh, set that and have that feed into my home data set, and then it can use that geofencing based on wherever my bus is to, and then also the GPS in my phone or a number of other devices to determine whether I'm home or not. This makes more sense in like a large home, right? With multiple family members, whether and like you want to know if your girlfriend's home, or if your other girlfriend's home, or if your boyfriend's home, or if your girlfriend be is home, right? Like I don't know, what are they up to? I mean, I would hope they're all home because there's goddamn panini going on, but it is what it is, you know. If we weren't in a panini, maybe this might be useful. But I don't need to know when I'm home or not. I personally don't. I don't need that on my dashboard. It's nice to have the telemetry of when I'm home or not. Because then I can use that to match data to other data, right? This is all, for me, this is all just data collection. Like, I just want to know empirical evidence on how I live as a creature and, like, what I'm capable of building and whether or not I turn my lights off when I leave the room, or if I need a computer to do it for me, which is totally fine and valid. But yeah, this person card's getting deleted. Delete. We can keep that. I don't really need to know when the sun is below the horizon. Rising in 11 hours, setting in 23 hours. History. So yeah, this will start getting a lot more interesting. Although these little graphs get so fucking boggy. Like once these just look like zebra stripes in like multi different colors, um, it just gets outrageous. Let's see what you say. History, partly cloudy. Yeah, nothing's happened super much in the past hour that we've been. But this is what I want to fix. See if we can get a good feed on you. Nah? Let's edit you. You are picture entity card configuration. I don't know that I want picture entity. What did I have before? I still have my previous installation on here, so I can always go back in and get the information I need. I think actually I have backups on Google Drive too. That's another thing that we need to install. Probably the next time. I think for now. So let's actually play around a little bit. Let's close this. Actually, let's just delete all of these because like I'm pretty sure I want something else. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do all this by hand. Because I definitely was getting like better refresh rate. I I think there's like multiple. It's not like the cleanest system. So like let's add a card. So we have alarm, entities, gauge. This is gonna look a lot more interesting once we have like more data points to work with. So entities, like everything's an entity, and then it has data points attached to it. So, like I can bring in the weather from, wherever I want to bring the weather in. If you're on Facebook, I'm looking at you right now. I'm not looking at YouTube. YouTube's up there. You're down there if you're on Facebook. Go over to YouTube. Just search for my handle, CLOMADS. And then I have, I'm on YouTube. Go to YouTube. Izzy, go to YouTube. On YouTube. Do the thing. Or I'll keep my finger out. Anyways. Home Assistant has entities. Things are entities in Home Assistant. So even like bringing in like a weather feed from somewhere, that's an entity, and then it has multiple like data sets attached to it. So can have like light state, whether it's in like on or off or a variation between the two. It could be like a door, whether it's opened or closed, but also if it's locked or unlocked, right? It could be closed but unlocked. That type of thing. So we have things like picture elements, picture glance. I'm pretty sure. What was the one that I was using last time? Fuck. Was it picture entity? Or was it picture glance? Media control, markdown. It was picture entity. Camera entity. Driver. Image. I don't want an image path. Entity from driver. Camera view. Live. Show name. Show state. There we go. Look at that. That's pretty. 16:9 are you? 16:8? 16:4? Oh, you have borders around you. 16:9. No, I don't want a custom. I can fix that later. Tap action. More info. It can, so like I can just tap. I can set this to tap if I want hold action. And that's it. That's literally like all the fuck it is a picture. And it's a camera feed from the thing. And we saw some cars going by, and we have that's a halfway decent frame rate. It's not a good picture. Oh yeah, and this isn't my front camera. I need to actually edit that in the in the thing. This is my driver cam though. Although that should be port side. Yeah, look at that. Getting my cameras back. Alright, let's duplicate this to camera dot passenger, camera entity passenger. Yep, there's my motorcycle. Beautiful. Save. I hate that. Yeah, this is like burned into the video feed. This is like super like this. I remember over a decade ago now. I had that job. Okay, so I had this job when the iPhone came out, and I remember my job, having this job, um, when I got the first gen iPhone. So that was 2007. Um, I was doing low voltage cable installations, and every once in a while we do surveillance camera installs. And what used to go for a DVR back in those days for several $100s, like $400 or $500, now goes for like $35 on eBay. And they just pump these things out, and they're like the worst fucking things in the world. Like, they're great for this situation. So for like $100, I have a 4-channel like a 4-channel like dash cam, so like front, back, side to side, um, but also like it's also running 24/7 too. So I have a surveillance system as well. So I just had to add the cameras with IR. You can see this one has IR, this one doesn't have IR. Actually, like this driver's side is the only one that doesn't have IR. You can see the other views in a second here. So we got camera, passenger camera, rear. Is that rear? That is rear. But I'm gonna need a little bit more. A little bit more IR illumination for some of these. I also think my monitor is very dark too, so we'll see. It's also very dark outside. Save that. And then one more. And I mean, that's kind of why I want to do like the Raspberry Pi Motion Eye setup, is that because as long as I can get an HDMI feed out of like all 4 cameras, I would totally switch out. Like, just get another Raspberry Pi and do it that way. Just because like the software on this thing, like even the cameras I had, I'm guarantee you I'll get like a billion times more quality just in the recording side of things. It's kind of sad. I remember I was watching Tecmo last night, and it's like he was talking, there's like literally 1, maybe 2 tape deck mechanisms, like cassette tape deck mechanisms that are available right now, that you can get. Like, if you want to make a high-end tape deck in 2021, you literally have to go with the bottom of the barrel, and or like the only one of 2 designs, which are both at like the most cost down version available. And I feel like that's the same way with like the standard definition DVRs. Yep, there's my front. So yeah, this is I want to move you to the end. Rear should go. Yeah, that's right. So I'm looking at it this way right now, but I like to like mentally like rotate my body, because I'm usually going to be looking at it from this way. So I want driver side, passenger, rear, and front. I mean, front and rear can be wherever the fuck they want to be, left or right. But I definitely want to make sure that my understanding of the two are where they are when I'm looking at the front of the bus. So yeah, that's it. I mean, honestly, this is freaking Home Assistant, guys. It's done. Like, this is the basics of Home Assistant, and there we go. I can load this up on a tablet and see my information there. Actually, let's go. I think the next thing to do right now is to go to entities, because we had, not entities, what the hell am I talking about? Integrations. So you can see we have my Google Cast, my MQTT, we've discovered, enable discovery. So, okay. Hello. Hi. If you want, like, to actually see my screen, I'm on YouTube. At my username is Clomads, CLOMEDS. It'd be great if you went over there and watched what I'm doing, or you can just like watch again when it's, you know, over and done with, because I have a proper live stream going on. I finally did the thing and got not scared to do a live stream. And today we're I'm reinstalling Home Assistant and kind of just rambling about Home Assistant and info dumping on all the things that I know in like completely ADHD brain way. So right now we're going into integrations. We've already installed Mosquito MQTT broker. And right now it's asking, the integration side wants us to integrate with that. So yes, we do want to do that. You can see we're getting Raspberry Pi power supply in there. We have one device. Oh no, okay, so we have one device and one entity. So entities are like the data sets. Hi, who is that? Oh, hi. I miss you too, friend. It's been a long time. I live in a bus in California now, in Oakland. Been a wild ride since I've been in Michigan. But if you wanna see what I'm doing, I'm over on YouTube under my handle Clomads, CLOMADS, and like I said, I'm working on making my bus smart. I'm making my bus an assistive device, is what I'm doing. I am a disabled queer living in a bus, and I need some help. So I'm going to make some computers do some things for me, and that's what we're doing right now. We're making the server that kind of glues all of the disparate items together, and making a central hub for it, so we don't have to rely on weird startups with our data, and also internet, because I don't always have internet available to me, and I don't want to make turning on the lights, having the internet being a requirement to turn on my lights. So that's what we're doing, and now we're in integrations. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you think that I'm inspiring. That means a lot to me, and yeah. I don't know where to go with that. I don't take compliments well. All right, integrations. These are all just kind of like, I don't really have like a good, I guess these are more like service calls, so you can in fact connect to cloud services in Home Assistant via integrations, and that's what the integrations are doing. They're, like you saw with the MQTT, it was an add-on, so it's running a server, basically just a Docker container, with Mosquito Broker in it, and then the integration section of it is there to actually integrate the MQTT into Home Assistant. So VS Code, the VS Code installation doesn't know anything, or like Home Assistant itself doesn't really know anything about VS Code other than it's like a little Docker container with some software running in it. If I wanted to like actually integrate with that, we would use the integration layer to start handling data between the two, to give it like if that was a thing. And that's where these integrations come in. So you can see we have there's like hundreds of them already built in. So like, let's just kind of go through some of these. I don't actually know what a bunch of these are. Like I could do AccuWeather. I would need an API key though to do that. So like I'd have to go over to AccuWeather, get an API key, and then install it from there. What else is in here? You can connect to like iCloud, Apple TV. I was using the Asus integration for a previous my previous router that I had was an Asus, I believe, Asus router. It was a really nice router, except it didn't really like the configuration that I had with like a little travel router, grabbing Wi-Fi from the house that I'm staying at, and then running that into the WAN port, and then that WAN, then that broadcasting to my bus. So I got something a little bit more integrated. But I don't know if there's an integration for that, and I'd love to get some of the data off of there into my Home Assistant, like how much data I'm using, or like what network am I on? Is my Wi-Fi still connected? Do I have to go in and like redo the connection to the Wi-Fi because sometimes it gets weird? That type of stuff. Got Brother Printer. I'm not exactly sure what any like these Brother Printer integrations do. Control 4 is a common home automation system company that does a bunch of weird shit. I don't know much about them. Most of their stuff's like super expensive, so I don't really pay attention to that. I guess DirecTV, Desktop. That's interesting. Dexcom is Home Assistant. Dexcom is a it's for blood sugar. Oh wow. If I had a Dexcom G6, so it's a constant glucose monitoring system. I am type 1 diabetes, and I almost had the opportunity to get a constant glucose meter at one point, which are super sick. They're these little pods that stick to your tummy, and then they're constantly reading. But it looks like you can get your your blood sugar into Home Assistant with Dexcom, which is sick. Super fucking sick. Like, that's the shit that I love. Like, I love the fact that we're like at this point where I can install this software on my home server on a little Raspberry Pi. It's my home server, and then like it can integrate with something like a Dexcom, like literally thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and I can just finally get that 3-digit number off of that device that's reading like once every 5 minutes or so. Like, I think it's like every 5 minutes. So like, I don't even need to open the app to see where I'm at. I just like look over at like my little dashboard, and I'm like, oh, my blood sugar's fucking too low or too high, and I don't have to go and do finger pricks and stuff, and which I don't do anyways, because honestly, fuck that shit. I mean, I do it when I need to, absolutely need to. Because sometimes I just don't know whether I'm high or low. I know I'm off, but I don't know which way. Um, so usually that just helps when I know that I'm off. If I'm feeling all right, I'm feeling all right. I know how to manage my diabetes otherwise. Plus, we're all gonna fucking die eventually anyway. So yeah, here's the ESP Home integration portion of it. Remember, we talked about ESP Home earlier. That was the add-on section, which manages like writing the firmware and deploying um, your updates or deploying the initial firmware. And then the actual ESP Home integration is the actual connection between your ESP Home devices and Home Assistant. Foscam, Freebox, Garmin. I think a bunch of these are like, we already have the Google Cast integration. And I want to see if I can integrate IFT if you want to, Insteon. I think, honestly, oh, that's good to know. I have a Harmony up there somewhere. I might want to integrate that, see where I can get. I think the final thing that I want to do is install this. The mobile app integration is definitely something that I want to do too, but my phone is currently running the Facebook live stream right now. You can integrate with like Nest and whatnot. There's also a service from the makers of Home Assistant. A company called Nabukasa runs a cloud service for, I think that's $5 a month, and then you get that secure connection. So like, I wouldn't have to set up a VPN back into my house. But I think they're doing some magic with the port forwarding and doing a lot of like encryption stuff to get you from your app. The second you leave your Wi-Fi and go on LTE and still have access back to your Home Assistant. So no, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. What is Notion? What is this Notion? I don't. Shh, friends. I know you're having fun, but I'm trying to live stream here. Notion Home. Where's home monitoring sensor kits? Alright. I was hoping that was a new app that I'm working on. OnVIF. This is for cameras. I wonder if this is a better integration for... Yeah, I wonder... I also want to do Open Weather Map. Open Z-Wave is interesting, because then I can do also Z-Wave, including Zigbee, which we're going to do, hopefully, before we end this. And I'm hoping I don't have to reboot this server, but I might have to plug this in. There's nothing like super interesting in here. There's a whole bunch of other like this is just what's in here right now. There's a whole group of community add-ons that are available through an installation of HACS, Home Assistant Community Store, which is a whole rigmarole that I'm not ready to I kind of want to just like chill on the bed when I do that. I don't want to be in here chatting away, because there's like a list of things that you have to do in the right order to get that to work, and I wasn't quite there. So Oh, right, there's that Bluetooth integration too that I want to do as well. I don't know if that's. I think that's in hacks. Yeah, you can even like connect to your Tesla if you fucking want to. Like this it's so much. I think I even showed you in like in the I may have skipped it, but like you have a Unify controller built into the add-ons as well. Like if you just need like a Unify controller somewhere, it's available here for you to use, and you just hit install and it's ready to go. Yeah, here we go. Unify, and then you can get data from, so like you have your Unify controller, but then you can also get uh, data from your Unify install back into Home Assistant, like how much data is going through your network, so you can keep a monitor if you have any data caps or anything like that. And Volumio, why things, Xbox. I'm definitely gonna get an Xbox one of these days. Definitely gonna be getting it. Xiaomi Gateway, Akara, Z-Wave, and Zigbee Home Automation. It's time for this boy, and see if we can get this thing installed. Don't tell me I have to reboot you. Please just say that you'll show me. Oh, fuck yeah, bud. It's right there. Submit. Ha ha ha. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. So, I have 3 Zigbee devices right now. Yeah. Yeah, created configuration for that. I'm gonna call you Com Closet. Let's just call you Comms. Commies. Cool. Add devices. We are in pairing mode. Look at that. Where are my keys? I think that's the first thing I need to install. Is well then. Oh, there they are. All right. This is fact. I'm gonna see. This is, oh, you're dirty as fuck. So this is a key fob from Iris, which was Lowe's IoT device brand. I think they were only around for like a year. Why am I doing that? And but it's Zigbee, so it can just be fucking, it's not dead. It's not dead to the world anymore. It's just, you know, a thing now that you can just hook into whatever. And wonder if this will work. wonder if this battery's dead. No. Please stop. Well, fuck. See something. Iris key fob pairing mode. Don't tell me I need a new fucking battery. Yep, I'll get some batteries in a second. I want to read this. Remove a blade within text of printing 5 times. Okay. 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 Can you stop, please? Alright. I want you there. You seal. Stay sealed. Alright. So I'm gonna put you in and just hold you there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Search again. Yes! Got it! Centralite. Configuring. Sup, buddy? I'm gonna get closer so you can handshake a little bit better. Are you done? Initializing. Yes! Look at me now! It's not in an area. Will you go in your home, please? Please, thank you. Alright, we're coming up on 2 hours now on the stream. Basically, network. Chloe's fob. Coordinator. Oh, this is cool. Device not offline. Alright, we got this. Automations. I can click any of these buttons. Close fob power. Automations is what we need. So I can do something if like button 1 is pressed. Then I can, these are the triggers for this happening. Yeah, so now I have an automation for this. So this is now 4 switches that can do whatever the fuck I want it to in my house. And I don't know, I'm pretty fucking stoked about that. The next couple Zigbee devices I need to plug into power. It's really hard to find DC powered Zigbee devices. I mean, you can get the little battery powered ones. So I'll have like motion sensors and temperature sensors and all that stuff. Just randomly, I want to put like a temperature sensor under like the hood and a vibration sensor on the hood, so I know when the car is actually running. So then I can like set up a relay for the alternator charge, right? So, you know, the underhood vibration motor is like on the engine or something, and when it senses a specific level of vibration, such as the engine is running, it knows that the alternator is providing power. I could set a delay to that, and then that could then control a relay that's connected to my boost converter that's running from the front battery to the rear battery, and allow me to charge for my alternator when I'm driving. So, but like also make sure that that's disconnected when everything else is off. But maybe like, because then if I hook it to like, because right now the problem is, in a lot of circumstances, and I don't know why they don't do this better, but like, let's say you get like a Renogy DC to DC converter. They know how to do this because they do this on some of their other devices too. But what they do is they give you a wire to connect to an ignition source. And in most cars, this isn't a run source. This is just a power on source. So you could, you know, turn your key backwards and want to listen to the radio. You're like chilling, waiting for a friend or something, not wanting to leave your vehicle running. And then you've triggered your house battery to charge while your engine isn't running, and it's just pulling energy from your main battery into, I mean, if you're fully charged, it's not a big deal, but like, you know, who knows if you're fully charged or not. And it's weird because like, it's real, like, especially with lead acid batteries, you turn off the car, it goes from 14.4 down to like 13.5, like immediately. No question about that. Like, it just immediately does that. It's off. Like, you're done, right? Like, it's still got that full charge, but it's representative of not being in a charging state, right? It's not being charged, but it's charged. And we can tell that's a volt is a big jump. That's an easy thing to determine how to when an alternator is running or not. And I'm planning on using some of this logic for other projects, but and also Renogy does it with they have this all-in-one solar charge controller and DC to DC converter, and that thing does it. But their actual just DC to DC chargers don't do this. They don't do it, and it's so silly to me that this would be even a thought process, right? I mean, granted, like you could theoretically like throw a lithium battery in your, make your starter 4S lithium iron phosphate, and it's not gonna drop from 14.4 immediately down, so you don't know. But there's other ways we can determine whether we're charging or not. I think that in combination, like you're gonna turn your car off pretty immediately. I think that in conjunction with turning the car off or finding some other run source. It's really hard to find a run source on a vehicle. It's not hard, it's just I haven't been through schematics that well to find one. And there's certainly not in older vehicles, they're certainly not under the dash in your main fuse block. There and even like it's even hard to find like just a regular ignition like key on source in older vehicles. It doesn't fucking exist. Um, Unless you just go to the back of the radio, because that's where it is. That's the only like that's I just did an install for a friend, and that's where we go to. We just splice into there, and we're good to go. Anyways, I'm rambling now. I think I'm gonna move that camera for my next stream because YouTube has got me looking down like this, and y'all get me looking right at you because my eyes just go straight there for like the majority of the. This is my Facebook feed. If y'all didn't know, I have my phone down here doing my Facebook feed, but I am done with this shit. I'm kidding. I love all of you. I'm glad I got at least this far with Home Assistant. I got my camera feeds back in. I'm gonna put my tablet back up on the wall so I can have this visible to me. Oh yeah, wait a minute. Before I go, I remember there being is there a Bitcoin? I remember there being, is it in my configuration? Here's my MQTT, my previous MQTT for my solar. Anyways, I'm done. Bye, friends.